bailando. Let me tell you that if I could start these shows with real salsa and like real music to like get myself hyped up, I would do it. But then Facebook will be a hater and they'll knock me off. So I can't do that. I got to fake it. Hello, hello. What am I going to say? If people could scream it back, they probably would scream it for me. But since you can't, I'll say it myself. Happy Tuesday, my favorite day of the week. I hope all of you guys are feeling energized and revitalized. Once again, sending much love to all of you because I was gone for 3 weeks, because I was so down in the dumps. And I decided last week I'm going to bring my behind back to the screen because you guys feel me. You make me feel good every week. So I'm back. I'm excited. I love it. Last week we had an amazing show. I was joined by Miss Betty D of Sweet Sensation, and we spoke about manipulation. It was a great show. If you missed it, check us out on YouTube. But as per always, let's start the show the way that all of you know. If you or someone you love, someone you were close to, a coworker, a friend, a sister, a relative is dealing with any form of domestic violence, remember to reach out to the number scrolling across the line. We have a Philadelphia domestic violence hotline, but I always put the national because I don't know where you're watching from. So 1-800-799-7233 is the line for the domestic violence hotline. If you want to reach any of us, you can reach us on all of our social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat. You can find us. You can also reach us at our website at loveshouldnothurt.com. Myself or someone from my team will reach out to you at our earliest convenience. Remember, if you are in a situation that is dangerous and you need immediate attention, always dial 911. Good evening, Carmen. I love her. She's always the first person on here, and we appreciate you a great deal. Thank you for joining us tonight. So tonight, we have a first-time guest. We have somebody who's never shared the screen with me. She's been on here a couple times for like 5 seconds to give an opinion and get off, but she has never sat on screen with me the entire time. She's a little nervous because she has no idea what we're going to talk about, but I gave her a little hint before we got on. So all of you are wondering, what are they talking about tonight? Normally we have a set topic. We talk about one thing and we go in all night long. But I decided there's so many discussions around domestic violence that we do not have. So I sat and I spoke to about 20 different people this week to get different things that they have not spoken about or have not heard or want more information on. So we have a bunch of different topics today. And remember, we are not professionals. We are not people who are licensed, and we are not giving you any form of advice. What we are doing is speaking open and having difficult discussions that not everyone can have. We're bringing it to light because it's so difficult for people to have those discussions. Remember that if you need professional help, if you need a licensed psychologist or therapist, we have our Amanda, who is phenomenal and who is on our team. But today we are going to have an open discussion about a lot of different things. So let's bring our first time guest on. I know that she's back there and she's nervous, but I told her, no te apure. It's just girls chit chatting. No big deal. Esa tiene su bebida. She's ready. Está relajada. She's getting calm so that she can come and join us on the screen tonight. I see you, Fish. We love you. I'm excited that you're here, my love. So let's bring on Miss Margie Montes. Thank you. And welcome, Miss Margie Montes. How are you, baby love?
I am doing amazing.
Look
Esta
at you,
noche.
mezclando,
I am
mezclando.
mezclando my strawberry daiquiri here. It's my favorite time of the year. It's Girl Scout cookie time. So
Woohoo!
tengo cookies aquí también because, hay que mantener la figura al día. And the only way you can do it is with alcohol and sweets. Exactamente.
Oh, there's
Espérate.
someone back there that said
Ay,
they
Dios
weren't
mío.
joining us. My
Who?
partner in crime's back there. I see him.
Ay, Dios mío.
Welcome back to
Well,
the
it was
show.
nice seeing you. Bye.
He's
Ay,
not
qué
going to kick you off today. He's not going to kick you off. Bad
bad idea.
It's going to be great. Be aware of what you say. He's going to cut you off.
Ay, Dios mío, yo venía, I was coming here directly just to
Tranquila,
talk
¿verdad?
about Tranquila, and I was literally about to say good things about him. And,
Now
now
you're
I have
nervous because
to,
he's back there?
I know. Pero nada, está bien, dos traguitos de esto, and he knows how I get. I just,
That's
like,
right. Mira, esa cajita was purple. You saw that? Se notaba. I saw it. Your caja.
I know.
He
Mira.
already started.
Empezó.
Folks, if you have no idea what's going on, our executive producer and this fine woman are best friends. So he is going to mess with her all night long. Migdalia Montes, thank you so much for being here. And you are absolutely welcome. Hello, Lania. We love you. Thank you for being here. So, Margie, let's get to it, mi amor. You have no idea what the discussion is going to be. Listen, pa'lante with an open mind. We're going to speak honestly, genuinely, and it's just a discussion between women, mi amor. So, listen, the first topic comes from a phenomenal man. He's been on here a few times. Edwin Decimore gave me an amazing topic. He actually was the last person to send me a topic, but I thought that it was spicy. I thought that it was good because in the society that we live in, a lot of the people who have been formerly abused, who have been victims, they spend a lot of their time blaming the person who was their abuser. And what we sometimes forget is that we have people watching, we have children watching. So I have my phone ready and prepped for these questions or discussion topics. So Edwin Decimore's topic for this evening for us to discuss is, how do we speak about the opposite sex to our children? Example, men are dogs, women are cheaters. What are we saying and showing our children? He says healthy relationships do exist. We sometimes and unfortunately live in a culture where it is rare. I got a lot to say about that, Margie, but how do you feel about that?
I have to say, Christina, unfortunately, I am not a parent, but I do have two beautiful nieces and a nephew. So I guess I'm sort of kind of like a parent, but I believe that couples can um, be united, even if it's for the benefit of the children. As an educator, I strongly believe that children just they're sponges. So
Yep.
whatever they see, they will do. So and it becomes a cycle, and it also becomes a way of traumatizing children in an involuntary way. So
Right.
you have this child and you're constantly battling out with the parent, whether it's the mom or whether it's a dad. It can be a single mom, a single dad, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. And you're constantly either lashing out over the phone, which happens a lot. You
Yeah.
have your partner and you're like, oh, you're supposed to pick them up and blah blah blah. You know how it is. You don't realize that behind you is your child, and they're going to have this image in their head. They're not going to see it for themselves. They're just going to have the image that they see through you.
Mhm.
So yes, do I believe that despite of whatever happens between the two parents, the child should not be the middleman. Should not be that person that sees everything, despite of all the hatred that's behind them. Um, can you have a relationship with uh, an ex? I can tell you, yes. I have my ex-husband who I dearly, dearly, care for. And anyone, even Ray, can tell you,
Mhm.
um, he goes to all of our events, whether it's birthday parties, Christmas,
Mhm.
anything, Thanksgiving. He's always welcome, and he will always be welcome. My nenes don't know any other Theo but him, despite the other gentleman that I've dated after our divorce. They still call him Theo. I don't think I've ever heard them say Alan. But you can have it. It won't be in the beginning, obviously, because of all the chaos. But if you both can now, unfortunately, there will be couples that they just can't. They will never
Right.
be able to be cohesive, and they will never be able to talk things out like regular people. Um,
I think that that's the important point that he's trying to get at, that those types of relationships, either they're going to work or they're not going to work. But what is it that we're saying to our kids after that, right? So let's not even talk about a marriage, right? Because
mhm.
mine was over. We are cordial to one another. But I think in the way that he's speaking, it's more so now that we're not together. She's grown up in a household with me. I'm her mother. I'm her single parent. I do everything. He participates in her life whenever, he does participate in her life. What is it that's being said as she's growing up? What is it that I'm saying to her about him? What is it to her that's being said about me? And kind of learning that in the society that we're in, that we need to remember that, I may not be with this person anymore. We may not have had the best relationship. It may not have always been positive, but there's a little person who's watching. She's 14 now, but as she grew up and as I was going through the motions of getting away from the abuse, what was being said to her. Now, I will say this, I was raised by a single mother as well. My parents weren't together. My father was a part of our lives, obviously. But the one thing that I can say that I've learned from my mother, and I've learned various lessons from her, obviously, but the one positive thing that I could say that has always stood out to me is that no matter what my parents went through together, anytime my mother had a discussion about my father, it was never negative. She never bashed him. She never talked badly about him to us. If we were upset and we'd be like, I can't believe he did that, and da, 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 she would always stop us and correct us and say, he's still your father.
Hmm.
You still respect him as your father. And I think that that's something that we need to remember and be mindful of. And I've tried my best to always be that way with my daughter. I won't say I'm perfect. I've had moments where I'm so angry and we're having discussions about her father, or I'm having discussions with other people, my friends or Michael Mai or whoever. And we've had moments where, I get upset at something we've been through, if we've had an argument or a disagreement, and I'll say something negative about him. But I have been very conscious throughout the past 14 years to always, even when she's upset, to do exactly as my mother did and say, he's still your father. That's still your dad. You still respect him no matter what. Because I think it's super important for that, because as they grow older, I, for myself, always felt like if she's going to have a relationship with him, it cannot be based on my feelings towards him. He's still her
Correct.
father. She
Correct.
has to choose what type of relationship she wants for him. And I'm not going to tarnish who he is to her to hurt her. I think that was one of the biggest things that was scary for me, for her to be a part of my movement, for her to see the documentary, because I knew that she
Hmm.
was going to listen to a lot of negative things. But I continuously reminded her that was the past. I've forgiven him. This is just a part of growing and my growth, but I want her to have her own opinion. And I think that we don't realize that, because, I'm a parent, right? But you're not. But you
Hmm.
have nieces and nephews that are close to you, right?
Correct.
It's the same thing if you're sitting there and you're saying, "Oh, Alan's a dog. Alan's a piece of crap."
Hmm. Pretty much.
That's
Yeah.
the vision we're giving the kids. We have to be
Correct. Correct.
mindful of how we
Yeah.
speak.
And it is true. You have to be mindful. And yes, there's going to be points in time, and we're going to talk here very openly and very clear as water. There's moments where you are going to bash your partner, to Timbuktu. And yes, your child might be there and might witness, because in the heat of the moment, you're not thinking, you're hot headed, you just start bashing out. But what we have to understand is that at the end of the day, the child will eventually know. I'm not saying that you're going to talk maravillas. You're not going to talk like, "Oh my God, your father was the best. Your mother was the best." You know, they kind of have to know the truth, but at the end of the day, they have to see. So if you know for a fact that the father of your child is not present, you don't have to bash him. Your child eventually will know that that father figure was never there, and they will have their own opinion of what's going on. Same thing for a mom. If you are a single dad and you're doing the best that you can of providing, of being there, of it, giving advice, of just
Right.
being that parent for that child, and the mother is not there, she's constantly lying that she's going to be there, she's constantly lying that she's going to, take this child out. Eventually, you don't have to say anything, because actions do speak louder than words.
Yeah,
At the
I
end
don't.
of the day, that child will eventually see, whether it be today, tomorrow, or when they grow up. They will sit down and say, "You know what? My parent, my mom, or my dad was there for me when the other party was not. And I
Right.
didn't have to know that he was or she was an A or this or that or the other, because I saw it with my own eyes. I was raised with a mom and a dad. And it doesn't mean that my upbringing was perfect because I had a
Mhm.
mom and a dad. I
Mhm.
mean, hey, they're Latinos. They fought for the honor of the wall. Um, but I know my parents.
Mhm.
And I know that right now I call my mom or call my dad and say, "Hey, I need this," or "Hey, can you give me advice? Can you?" They will be there for me. And I know, just like yourself, at this moment in time, despite of whatever your dad did to your mom or your mom did to your dad, you still have that love and you still have that
Oh, yeah,
respect, and you know that you can count with either one for whatever it is that you need.
absolutely.
So at this point in time, whether when you was a kid you didn't see it because again you're a child, I just feel that though bashing the other person is just not the way to go, because you're just going to give this child a vision of a person that they haven't even gotten to learn who they are. Remember, they're not there on a daily basis. So they don't know this person, even though they're their dad or their mom.
Right.
So you're taking that knowledge away from them, if that's even a way of saying things, if I'm making any sense.
I think the biggest thing to take out of this is just being mindful, being very conscious
Correct.
about how we speak. Because honestly, I think we can go even further with not just speaking about relationships that broke up. Let's just say moving forward, okay? And I've always been transparent when I'm on this show, and I always use myself the first person because I don't like to say, well, that person or that person. So I speak for
Mm-hmm.
myself. I have Alina. She's 14, and I am not with her father, which means what? I'm going to date. I'm going to see
Mm-hmm.
different people, right? So I think it's more honestly as well being mindful of just in general how I speak about men because she is now a teenager. She's going to start liking boys. She's going to want to start dating, all of the above. I need to be mindful of what I am presenting to her because there are healthy relationships. There are very good men and women in the world. Not
Mm-hmm.
every man she meets is going to be bad. Not every woman she meets is going to be bad. And I think that we have grown as a society to just think men are dogs, men cheat, women are hoes. This is what we've been brought up as. That's the upbringing that we've given ourselves and what
Correct.
we've heard, you know? And it's the same thing about abuse. We're repeating that same cycle. Oh, men are dogs and all men are going to cheat on you type of thing. And I think it's a matter more of just being mindful of what we say when we know that they're listening. Because, I've had really, really bad relationships, like really bad relationships. And I could be so bitter that the only thing I say to my daughter is, men are dogs, girl. They're all going to cheat on you. They're all going to
Mm-hmm.
manipulate you. They're all going to lie to you. But that's not the mindset I want my daughter to walk into her future with. I want my daughter's mindset to remain innocent the way mine was as a child. You know, we all, when we're little, we all think of like growing up and having this boyfriend and getting married and
Hey, I
just
still
seeing the
believe
beauty.
that.
Me too.
Hey, I'm sorry. I am a hopeless romantic. I will see
Yes.
romance in every person until I realize that and the bad idea person, he knows.
But I think we need to be mindful. And here's my prime example. A little comment was just put on the screen and it says, men are dogs, but I'm a pure breed. That's Michael Spy,
Oh
all the way from
wow.
Florida. Love him to death. Thank you for watching. That is our prime example. We have had bad men in our lives, but there's people like him that are amazing. Michael
Hmm.
Bai is an amazing man. He's an awesome
Hmm.
father. He's a good husband. And that's what we need to instill in our kids that there are positive men in the world. When I talk to Alina about guys, it can't always be, oh, they're all going to abuse you. They're all going to be mean because that's what she's going to grow up believing. And then I got her walking out into the future and meeting men thinking, oh my God, men are just terrible and they're hard. I don't want her to think that. I want her to give men the opportunity, women the opportunity. I see Ray's comment. I want her to have the opportunity to know that there are good men there so that she gives herself the opportunity to love because I think that that's also how we hinder ourselves from finding love because in our minds we already have it embedded that men are bad and we
Correct.
don't
And you're not
allow
giving
ourselves to
that
see that there are
opportunity.
good men out there.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree.
Ray,
I
you're
think
amazing. Ray, you're amazing. You
yes,
want to hear that? You're amazing.
he's amazing.
I
He's
want to let you
amazing.
have your final thoughts so we can go on to the next topic. Go ahead. What were you about to
So
say?
yeah, again, like I said, education is key in anything. I think that the way we educate our children in regards to love, in regards to relationships, in regards to marriage, we have to show them that yes, there are good men in this world. And yes, they are men that are not that good. And then there's men who, depending on their upbringing, whatever the case might be. But don't don't shield yourself. Just make sure you're vigilant. You go in with an open mind, and wide open eyes,
Mhm.
to see those red flags. Because mind you, I will be next month. I mean, in 2 months, and sometimes the red flags are there. They're like as big as whatever, and I don't see them.
They're like
And
lights.
you kind of wonder, you're like, yeah, yeah, they're like flashing lights, and everybody's telling you like, this ain't girl, girl, run, right? Exactly.
That's right.
Um, yeah. So but we just for whatever reason, we just go to it. And yes, we get burned at the end, but it doesn't mean we're just not going to stop. We're not going to go into our little shell and never come out because we had a bad experience. And that's one of the things we have to teach our children. Just because you have this bad apple, it doesn't mean the whole tree's bad.
Right.
So,
Right.
but yeah.
All right. So if you're just joining us, we decided that instead of having one topic tonight, I asked a panel of about 20 different people what they thought we should have discussions are, open discussions about. So I see a lot of comments in the comment box. We're going to do as we always do. And at the second half of the show, we're going to go through these comments so that we can have a discussion with you guys. But I want to go into the next topic that was presented to me. I have a bunch. We may not get through all of them, but the next one is, let's get a good one. How about this one? All right, let's see. How do your children trust you with your future choices with men after you have been through abuse? That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Good one. Let me tell you this much. My daughter is so fully guarded. I'm sorry. I just saw a comment from my cousin and I got embedded in that comment because I'm going to come back.
Stay there. I'm like, okay, what happened?
Stay there. I'll be back with that comment. So how do our kids trust us to make positive choices with the next person, right? Trust their instincts. I'll say this much. My daughter is so guarded with me dating that anytime I say I'm dating someone new, my daughter's like, that's her face always is, because she's always worried, right? Because in her past experiences, she's 14, so she has seen me through some stuff. She has seen me through men cheating, through manipulation. She has seen everything. So now her guard is like up here, right? But the funny thing is, people say, "Oh my gosh, she's so guarded about the guys you date." She's more guarded about my decisions and who I'm dating, because she feels like mommy made those mistakes in the past, or mommy didn't see those red flags then. Is she going to see them this time? Is she going to see when this guy is like not good to her? Is she going to see it? And I'll tell you this much, a dozen red flags. Absolutely. That's the thing, that she has seen me through so many bad relationships. How can she trust me to now make the right move? How can she trust me now to choose the right man after I've dated so many bad men and all the red flags were there? That's an amazing topic, and I think we need to have like a full show on that one day.
That is true. That is true. There's really no answer to that, because every relationship is different, and regardless if the red flags are similar or in some cases the same, we're going to be prone to give everyone, well, some of us are prone to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I am one that I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. My mom always say, "Tú nunca ves la malicia en nadie." And yes, it's true. I don't see the bad until the bad hits me in the face, and I'm like, "Dang, like, why didn't I see that coming?" Right. And that's, I'm not talking about relationships. I'm talking about friendships. I'm talking about just co-workers, anybody. Like, I am literally that one person that be like, "I pero she's nice," and everybody's like, "Ay por Dios, like, what you don't see it?" And it's true, I really don't. Unfortunately, we just have to be open. I'm sorry, my say hi, Milo. Say
That's hi, okay. Milo. Hi, Milo. We welcome everyone. Humans, dogs, whatever.
Yeah, that's my new boyfriend now, and he treats me very nice.
Dogs are
so it's more so of an open communication. Like I said, I have my niece Adriana, who currently stays with me, and it's hard. I try to not involve anything with her in my love life, but she'll see it. She'll be like, "Oh, Didi, you're going out again," Or the other day I went out and she's like, "Remember, you better be back home early because you got school tomorrow." And I'm like, "Okay, mom." But just having that open communication with our children and just saying, "Hey, I don't know. I'm going into the unknown. I'm going to learn this person out. I know there are some red flags," and just tell them, if you see something that maybe I don't see, just tell me and be like, "Mom, he did this and you probably didn't see it, but I saw it and I'm not really feeling it." And maybe to her is an issue and to you it's not, but it's, again, communication is key. There's always should be an open communication between you and your children, especially if you're bringing someone else into the mix.
Absolutely. I say all the time, all the time. Ooh,
All the time.
all right. And I'm drinking
You
water.
like some? You want to bring me some? I think you need some.
I say all the time when I go into new relationships that they have to accept the fact that I'm a mother because we come as a pair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I say that because I want to make sure that they know that she has to feel comfortable with the situation. And not every time she's been comfortable with it. And it's taken the relationship to go far for me to finally be like, okay, she's not comfortable with this situation. She's not comfortable with him. And sometimes agreed, we learn at the end. But what I think, and I'm learning this, and I say it openly all the time, that with this show, with my organization, I'm always learning. Something that I'm really learning right now is that we're always seeing kids as, oh, they're just a kid. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just
Mm-hmm.
a kid. What we need to start doing is listening,
Correct.
because they're saying things that we should be listening to and hearing. And maybe there's things that we don't see that they do see. With
Mm-hmm.
my last relationship, she she was like this all the time. But I wanted to see the good in the relationship. So I was just like, I got this. Don't worry about it. Mommy got it. And now it's like, I should have listened to her. But we tend to feel like our kids are just kids. They don't know what they're talking about, but they do. And we need to listen, because let me tell you how many relationships, and I think that all of these topics, like I said, it's an open discussion, they jump into something else, right? How many
Mm-hmm.
times have people stayed in marriages or relationships because they want to stay for the kids,
Correct.
right? I had a
Correct.
conversation today at work, right? I asked another person at work to give me topics, and she is who I call my work mom, Miss McNeil. And she was telling me about, her past and things that her kids told her, and her kids are in their 40s and 50s now. And her kids, she said, told her at 16, you don't have to stay for us. You don't have to deal with any of this. We're almost adults now. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm almost 70 years old now, and I should have listened. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Sometimes we think we're doing them a favor by staying in these relationships. Listen, myself, I have stayed in relationships far too long because I want a father figure in my daughter's life. How much damage did I do to myself? How much time did I waste wanting a father figure for my daughter? She got a father. She has
Mm-hmm.
a father. She doesn't need a father figure. She has a father. Whatever our past is our past, but I will never take away from the fact that he is her father. And I'm never going to try to replace him. And I'm never going to say, oh, well, I need to find another man so he could just. I'm never going to ask my daughter to forget her dad. I'm never going to ask my
As
daughter
you
not to
should.
speak to her dad.
And you shouldn't. And you shouldn't. I strongly believe that you should not separate a child from their parent. Regardless of whatever is going on, a child should always have access to their parent. Let the
Yeah.
child decide whether or not they want to reach out or not.
Yes.
They no matter how small that child is, and I'm not talking about baby, I'm talking about, you know, a
Right.
child now
Age.
that knows,
Mhm.
yeah, age range. They know. They will know if they want to be with a parent. I mean, with a
Right.
parent or not. So let
Mhm.
them decide. Like parents
Absolutely.
need to back away. I can tell you that there was times in my upbringing that I just wanted to be like, can y'all just like separate?
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Just
Yeah.
separate. Like if you're doing it for us, we don't need it. Sometimes, like you
Absolutely.
said, los Latinos, especialmente, they have a tendency of staying together for the kids, not
Yeah.
knowing that what you're doing is more emotional and just destructive trauma to this child, because
Yeah.
all they see is two people bickering left and right every day, or
Yeah.
whatever the case might be, exploding for this, exploding for that, financials, social media now.
Yeah.
Back in my days, there wasn't really social
There was
media,
no
but
social media.
you know, there was no social media, but now social media has
Yeah.
become, and I can tell you from personal experience, this
Mhm.
I can attest to. My last relationship, wow, like he was so, well, why do you have this person in your social media? Why do you have that
Yeah.
person? Like he knew more about the people that were in my social media than myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's like, get those things away. You're missing out on the relationship because you're focusing on X, Y, and Z, and you're making your relationship based on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So for this, I say, if you have children and you are in a unhealthy relationship, okay, don't stay there for your children because you
Yes.
are damaging your children more. Yes, you don't want to be in a broken home because in your mindset, like myself, I had a mom and a dad. So I want to give my child a mom and a dad. And that's all you have in your head. And that's all you want to do. And you start getting this idea, this fantasy that I want to give that. I got married. I had a family. We wanted to have children.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, for X, Y, and Z, I couldn't have any children. I had 3 miscarriages. It just wasn't in the cards. Um, but my ideal was I grew up with mom and dad. I want to give that to my child. So I
Right.
literally took my 20s and 30s to work on getting my education, getting my home, getting a career started because when I was ready to have children, I had everything in place and nothing was going to be missing. I got married. So now I have a husband. Now we can bring the kids into the play.
Yeah.
Didn't work out that way.
It
It didn't.
never works out the way that we
Never
planned. That's
works
the
out the way you
problem.
want. So it's up to you to make sure that you make it work to the best of your ability. So
I
for
think
that,
that
I'm
I
sorry, go ahead.
think that no, that's okay. I think that that's the biggest lesson that I've learned from my mother. Um, we grow up believing what society has painted for us. We believe that it's a husband, a wife, picket fence, beautiful home. And
Hmm.
for a very long time, I have felt like I have just fallen short for my daughter,
Hmm.
because of what society has made it out to be, because I didn't have a husband. We've been in an apartment. We're not in a house, and her and her father and I didn't work out. So for me, I believe that I failed my daughter. And now that I'm older, I realize she has a mother who adores her and does everything for her. A
Yeah,
mother who's at her games and is cheering her on. She has a roof over her head. She has clothes on her back. We have a car. We get around. I didn't need what society told me I needed. Would it be beautiful? Absolutely. I still would love to be a wife. I still would love for her to see a positive relationship with her
hmm,
mother. I still would want her to be at a wedding and see, wow, look at my mother as a bride. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still rocking this shit as a single mom. She's still
exactly.
getting all of the love that she needs. And I think we need to listen to our kids. Don't stay in those terrible relationships that you're unhappy and that you're being abused, that you're being spoken down to because you want to be there for the kids. Because nine
Correct.
times out of 10, those kids that are watching are more miserable because they're watching you sleep on the sofa or they're watching mom not come home for 3 days and spending the night at her friend's house to stay away from dad. You're making it
Correct.
worse because now this is what they're seeing in their
Hmm.
life to be a relationship. Before we get into the next conversation, my producer's reminding me that we are at the half point. If you or someone that you love are dealing with domestic violence, remember to reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can reach us at loveshouldnothurt.com and all of our social media platforms. Remember that if we do not get back to you immediately and you are in desperate need of help, you can always dial 911 for immediate service. All right. So we're going to look at some of the comments before we get into the next conversation because we have a lot of comments filling up. So I'm going to start from the bottom, Ray. We're going to start from the bottom and we're going to work our way up. So I see that Evelyn Ramos just wrote. She said we have to change the definition of what a successful and happy life looks like. It's different
Amen.
for all. Absolutely. And that has always been my problem. I have had people like herself. That is Michael, my people. I love her to death. I have had those types of people in my life who have a husband and a wife, a home, a happy marriage. And for years, I battled because I thought that's what I needed to make my daughter happy. Till I had to take a moment to sit back and say, she has warmth in the winter. She has a bed. She has a room. She has a house. Her mother has a job. She has a degree. We have a car. We have food. And I realized that it didn't matter if I was with a man or not. I was giving her what she needed.
Correct.
But society was telling me that I wasn't. Let's look at the next comment, Ray. Staying caused more pain on both ends. Absolutely. We've said that over and over again. Too many people stay because they think it's going to do you justice. And let me tell you, Margie, I was a lot of those people too. I was like, can they just separate? Because this is driving me nuts.
It is. It is. It's just a shame. Like, think about it. Think you're being selfish. And I'm sorry to have to say that, but you're being selfish. You are thinking about yourself and in here, like right here in the front. But what you don't realize is in the back, you need to think about them. You're just thinking about you at the moment. I need to stay with him because of them. No, you don't. No, you're putting you first. It's not about you anymore. Se acabó. Once you have that kid, it's no longer about you. You know, the choices you make are for that child, not for you.
Right. Marilyn says, she has one before that comment. It says, I look back and regret my decisions. And it says, not realizing I was hurting me and my kids. Absolutely. I know that Marilyn, she is a part of our documentary. She, as we said in the documentary, and we've mentioned before, she was in a domestic violence relationship and she stayed for a really long time. And as crazy as it is, the day of our documentary is the day that she was deciding to move and get away from that relationship. And she is living a
Ooh,
pretty good life right now. She got herself a new person who absolutely loves her. She's super happy, and I'm so happy for her. But I think that's the step that she needed to break herself away from that and see that, listen, this is hurting me. This is hurting my kids. Let me move away. Let me get my own place. Let me start to rebuild. And she did that. She rebuilt for her kids. She moved out of her own. She got her own place. She did what she had to do. And I believe that once we take those types of steps, that's when the goodness comes.
correct.
Now look at her years later. We're on our fourth year of starting of Love Shouldn't Hurt. And that documentary was almost 4 years ago. And that's when she decided to take that leap. And now she is in love with an amazing man. She's happy and she's
Congratulations.
making decisions for her future. So I think that you have to take that leap sometimes so that we can. Ray, let's find another big comment so that we can put up there and give it. Ivalis Ruiz says, true. It's time we change that mentality and break that cycle. It's not easy, but we can do it. And sometimes giving an opportunity to receive love without being scared of failure in a relationship is what takes us to the next level.
Miguelito,
Absolutely.
un beso. I miss you. That's one of my old coworkers.
Awesome. Thank you for supporting. I'm loving the fact that we're blowing up with comments here and our numbers continue to go up. We appreciate you being here as per always. But that is the absolute truth. We have to stop keeping that pain from our past or the consistent burden or pain that we felt and open up and give the opportunity to love, because sometimes we're so damaged by
Mm-hmm.
what we've dealt with that we don't give that, and we could be losing or missing out on amazing, amazing opportunities. Lanya Rosario just put a comment. What's that say? So how about if it's not that easy to walk away because dad doesn't let you leave with the kids and you're not financially stable to fight him?
Good
That
question.
is an amazing freaking question. So, if you're not financially stable enough to walk away or fight him, you, my friend, talk to me. Because if you know what I do, you know that I can find resources for you to separate yourself if that is something that you want to do. Sometimes we do have barriers that are, in the way, and that was actually another topic that someone gave. How, what if you're not financially stable enough to leave those relationships? But if you find yourself in a situation where you're not financially stable enough to leave or to fight that person and that person is refusing, this is where Love Shouldn't Hurt can help. And you should know that, boo. This is where Love Shouldn't Hurt can help, because we can find a way for you to have some peace. We can find the money to try to get you out, to start you up somewhere else. And, unfortunately, that's what keeps people for a very long time, too. And
That is
that's
true.
what's called financial abuse, right? People are like, oh my God, I can't find it. And he knows that I can't do it. He knows I don't have
Mhm.
the money to leave, so I can't leave. Well, that's when you find friends like Christina Vega, who run this organization, and we will find you the funds that we need if that is what you do. But I will say this, and I say this to Lanya because I love her and everybody else that's watching and listening. You absolutely have to know that you are ready for that step. You
Correct.
mentally can say, I'm ready to go. I just need the funds to get away. But you have to remember what's going to happen during that process. So I want to remind folks that when you ask for the help, we want to make sure that you're ready for that help. We can help you with the financial, we can help you move away, but you have to be ready to fight the questions of where you're going, where you're leaving, if your kids are sad, and all of the above, because you have to be ready to move forward. And I think that's what holds us back. We're so worried and we're so concerned. Don't be worried. We're here to back you up and to support you. Don't be worried, but just be ready and be prepared to fully take that on. Carmen
And I can,
Gonzalez, what did your go ahead?
oh, and just real quick, I can tell you that I can testify to that. I was terrified of when me and my ex husband separated, because I went from not having not
There you
any
go.
bills, but not having, so many bills to now having a mortgage, a car payment, light, water, gas, you name it, I had it. And two incomes are always better than one. So
Absolutely.
I got accustomed to, oh yeah, well, Alan's going to take care of the mortgage. He takes care of the mortgage. So I do have $200 to get that Coach bag. But now I was like, in that moment, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Do I have the money to actually separate myself from my husband and go on with myself? Because again, everything was mine. It was my home. So I couldn't leave my home. It was mine. So, but at the end, I just took a leap and I was like, you know what? Unfortunately, Love Shirt and Hurt wasn't around when I was separating my husband, but I
Me
bet that if
too.
it
Me
was,
too.
I know, right? If it was, I would have been hitting Christina up talking about me that I need to go. And I need to figure this out. But yeah, just look for that help. Like don't be scared to look. And that's what sometimes society and family and just everyone around us say, oh no, you gotta stay with him. Remember, even my mom, who I love to death. I love my mother to death. She drives me crazy, but I love her. And she tells me from time to time, ay, ¿por qué tú no vuelves para atrás? Why don't you go back with your ex-husband so he can pay your bills? Mijita, no. You was the first one that told me that I had to get an education por si acaso venía un HP. And those who are Rican know what HP means. I'm not going to say it because they'll cancel. Viene un HP y te fastidia la vida, tú no tienes, you don't have to be in that relationship because you have your education and you have yours. So this same person that's telling me to get an education so that I don't have to go through all that is now telling me, hey, you need to go back with your husband so that back with your husband so that you can be financially stable. And I tell my mom straight up, no, I don't need to. I don't need to. I will starve and I will start from the bottom, but I refuse to go back with someone for money.
Well, here's the thing. I think we also, there's a lot of things that come with it, and not just you, Lanya, and just because it brings up, like I said, these conversations jump into other things. I think it's also a matter of comfortability. I think
Correct.
sometimes we're comfortable with the fact that I only have one daughter, but let's say I have two, right? I'm just giving
Mhm.
examples. So I have two kids. I'm in a 3 bedroom house or a 3 bedroom apartment. Each of them has their own room. I can't afford to give them that if I leave. We have to remove that level of comfort. We have to
Correct.
be uncomfortable, if that makes any sense, so that we
Mhm.
can make that other move. For say, I have said plenty of times when I'm trying to leave, and it's taken a long time for me to get there because I was there. It was like, no, if I move, I have to give her exactly what she's already used to and comfortable with.
Correct.
Not realizing that, what, I might be low right now. I'll come back up high again. Maybe I need to move into a 1 bedroom apartment. She can have the bedroom. I'll sleep on a sofa bed, but I'll be away from the toxicity. When she comes
Correct.
home every day, mommy will be happy and be laughing. We'll go to bed at night knowing that when she goes into her room and goes to sleep, she's not going to hear mommy in the living room arguing with her husband or her boyfriend.
We're
You
crying
have
like the.
to or crying because
Mhm.
mommy's now going to be at peace. Mommy's not going to be dealing with the drama or cursing or arguing or the cheating. And now I've released that comfort. Absolutely. I'm not in a place where we each have our own bedroom, but I'll get back to that comfortable place. I just need to be uncomfortable for a little bit before I can get back to that comfortable. And that's okay. We don't think that that's okay. Evelyn says, and show them we are human who make mistakes, hurt, and always learning. I am still learning. I am 41 and I am still learning. I have still made
And that's true.
mistakes
We
in
are still
relationships.
learning. Yeah, like for instance, my ex-husband was not abusive. We were not in an abusive relationship. There was no like, there was no screaming, there was no hollering, there was no financial issues. We were just two people who realized that there was just no chemistry, no connection. And we realized that we were just friends. We were two friends who decided to push it a little too far. Like I said, we're still the best of friends. He's there for me. I am there for him. In my case, it was just a little different. Like I said, I didn't have no abuse. He's never raised his voice at me. He never had that type of relationship towards me. He's an amazing man. And I say that all the time, and people will be like, well, if he's so amazing, why are you with him? It doesn't work like that.
It just didn't work. It's okay.
It just doesn't work. The
Yeah.
person could be, amazing. and it's not there. So why continue to be in a relationship where it's just not there,
Right.
whether it's fighting and bickering, or just two people who are peaceful but just can't be in a relationship because there's just nothing there.
Right.
um
And you had to separate from that relationship to get yourself where you guys are now, which is okay. And that happens in a lot of relationships. Carmen Gonzalez says, be uncomfortable for a little bit in order to become comfortable forever. Right.
mhm.
That's exactly where it is. And the crazy thing is that I'm looking at all of these topics that were given to me, and we just jumped into another topic that someone had, which was fear of leaving with no resources and financial support. So we went into
Mhm.
another topic. So we've been going back and forth, but tonight was about giving different topics. So before we close it out, right, we continue to have a lot of great comments on here. I want to look at all of them, but I want to bring up one last topic just so that we close out the show with three in the box. So we kind of did three already because that one led into another
Yeah,
one. I was just, we
yeah, yeah.
Hispanics, estamos hablando de
It's
esto,
like
pero vamos
it's
acá
like,
y hablar de esto.
it's un
Yeah.
sofrito.
So to close it off, I'm going to ask you and then I'll answer it myself. One other person's question was, everybody sees domestic violence in a different light. So you didn't talk about domestic violence as much, right? Until I started doing it, right? Because we were in the same circle and it was like, oh my God, like, the three of us, me, you, Ray. Ray says it all the time. He never thought of domestic violence until I started my initiative, right? Then you came along and you're like my money person. Margie, everything we do, you holding my money, right? You doing my raffles? You taking care of mine? Always, right? So
Yeah.
I have brought domestic violence into our lives, right? And I've made it apparent and I've made it something that we talk about constantly. So the last question or topic per se before we close it out is, everybody's going to see it differently because we're seeing it from different spectrums. I see domestic violence from the eyes of a survivor, right? Someone who has dealt with it, surpassed it, and has moved on from it. You're seeing it from a different perspective. So my question to you is, what is domestic violence for you?
Whew,
Putting
that's
you on the
deep.
spot.
That is deep. Okay. What is domestic violence for me? Domestic violence is basically a form of abuse in a way that the other party is not comfortable with. It whether it's physical, mental, financial, a mixture of all. It could be any type, holding something against you, constantly bringing up something, a mistake from your past, like body shaming, um, anything, talking about the way you raised your children.
Mhm.
Um, it can be so many things. Domestic violence is so broad, but it comes to two people. You need two
Mhm.
people. That is the baseline. You can't be domestically violent by yourself, and you need two or sometimes even more, however your preference. But you have to have two people, and these two people cannot be in consensus with each other. So domestic violence is very, very broad. It's no more I got a black eye,
Yeah.
or I got a bruise, or I am locked up in my house. That is your baseline domestic violence, stuff that you visibly see. But there's things that you do not see. When you have a person that has been body shamed by the person that they love.
Mhm.
And you see this person just like, okay, what's going on? And why don't you fix yourself up? And, oh, well, if I fix myself up, my husband's going to say I'm looking for someone else. You got that emotional now going on,
Mhm.
where that person sees themselves as just bluntly ugly. They're
Mhm.
worthless because this person constantly says that. You have that person that is financially abused. They're not allowed to work,
Mhm.
because their husband says no, he's the breadwinner, so you're just a stay-home mom, and that's what you're going to be. Um, you have that domestic abuse where it's not you that they're abusing, but your children. How
Mhm.
many parents, how many moms do we see that they don't get touched, get hit, but their child gets abused all the time? Whatever the mom or the dad does, the child gets it. So again, it's very broad. I see domestic violence from an outsider in. I'm not a survivor. Yes, I've had my relationships where yes, I kind of was domestically abused, more so mentally than anything
Mhm.
else. They've taken my vulnerability um, to 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 heart. Um, And will someone else come around and try to cause me pain? Yeah, the likelihood. Because again, we're just taking chances out there. We're putting ourselves out there, and maybe one day I will hit the jackpot. I will put that quarter in that slot, and it'll give me 777. You know, but until then, I just have to skip rocks and kiss frogs until I find my Prince Charming, and that's it.
So you said something that stood out to me, right? Because I said, how do each of us see domestic violence? So that's the way that you saw it. So some of the things that you said are what I saw it as well. And nothing that you said, let me say, is wrong. There's no right or wrong answer. Um, it's just a wow factor of seeing what you define as domestic violence and what I define, and that's only because I was a victim. And
Hmm.
and looking back, you know, I know that I have survived major bouts of domestic violence. I mean, my face being punched in, my arm being dislocated, getting thrown into a wall. You know, I've been beat to points where I didn't think I'd get back up and walk again. Okay, so
Hmm.
physically, in every which way, shape, or form, I was abused. Mentally, I gotta say that even until now, 41 years old, I feel like I've still dealt with mental and emotional abuse. I didn't think that was abuse. And that's what's crazy to me because, people who have never dealt with domestic violence have no idea that they are in domestic violence relationships because they think
Hmm.
he doesn't hit me, I'm cool. But they
Correct.
don't realize that when that man is in the home and he's constantly demeaning you and telling you that you're worthless and just manipulating you with everything he knows that you're afraid of, or everything you hate about yourself. I hate my teeth. I hate the way my hair is. I hate my gut. I hate this. I hate that. And that person is using that to hurt you. They're taking something that they know already is a pain for you and they're hurting you. That is mental abuse. People don't see
Correct.
that as domestic violence, though. They're just like, no, he doesn't hit me, and no me toca. But they don't see that he doesn't have to hit you, mi amor. He doesn't have to beat you. She, because it's women or men. It could be two
Hmm.
women. It could be two men. They don't have to hit you to abuse you. And the sad factor is looking back on my life, and even in the recent years and even months, realizing that toxicity has followed me my entire life. And the common factor is that I've never found the importance in me. So domestic violence has always been in my life, but I've seen it differently throughout different points in my life. When I was a kid, it was like, I don't know, he smacks her. That's domestic violence. She gets smacked. And then as I got older, it was, well, sometimes he talks bad to me or curses at me. I guess that's domestic violence. It's changed
Hmm.
throughout the years. I'm 41 now, and now I'm like, man, sit down. I can write a book on
Yeah.
everything that's domestic violence, like everything that's been done to me that isn't just hitting me, but also manipulating me and making me feel terrible and making me feel like I'm less of a person and making me question myself and the decisions I make and how I raise my daughter and how I speak and all of the above. So I think domestic violence, someone told me, I mean, that was one of the questions that they asked me, to talk about. It's hard. We cannot give you a definite answer of what domestic violence is. It's not just one thing. It's not just some thin
Correct.
line that we can say this is domestic violence. Domestic violence is like all encompassing. Everything from the emotional to the financial, keeping me from my family, keeping my money from me,
Hmm.
talking down to me, demeaning me. You're fat, you're ugly, you would be nothing without me. You're a victim. You know how many times I've heard that since I've
Yeah.
left my abusive relationships. I've got into
Hmm.
other relationships where if I get mad or I get hurt, they say, you're going to be a victim for the rest of your life. You're just a victim.
Hmm.
You don't
Yeah.
realize that
It's like
that
you can't
it's
self
settled.
express yourself. Yeah, you can't say what you really feel because society is telling you have to suppress those feelings. You have to man up as a female nowadays, and
You got to let it go.
unfortunately, you gotta let it go. Mijita, like you're just being a victim. Like stop playing the victim. That's the first thing they say. Stop playing the victim. And even myself, I have found myself telling others, stop playing the victim. You know what you gotta do, so do it. Or you change the situation or stop complaining about it. And I have found myself, but again, you don't know what happens behind closed doors until it happens to you. And
And then
for
when you're in
those
that predicament, you're
individuals,
like, whoa.
yeah, exactly. I got my little dose of domestic violence, and if you see domestic violence, you're absolutely right. It is not one definite. answer. It's not. Think about it as a tree. A tree has branches and a tree has roots. So, but it's a tree. You have one solid tree, but from that tree, you got thousands of roots and you have thousands of branches. So think of domestic violence as that one solid tree with a whole bunch of roots and branches. And those are your sections of this and that become what is called domestic violence. So, I got my little dose too at 40, at 42. I got my little dose. It took me 42 years because I was the one that had that big old goal. Darme a mí. Are you crazy? Que alguien me toque a mí. Let somebody touch me. I wish they would. I was the one that was raising the voice before you raised your voice, because you ain't gonna raise your voice to me until it hit me. And it hit me like very smoothly. It just, everybody was like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Until I spoke out, and they're like, no, that this is not right. But again, he's nice and he's sweet, and he treats me nice, and we go out and chihi chiha, and he has this and he has that, and we're always putting shush. No. And then you know what he does? He me saca de concentration, and then I can't finish my sentence.
It's okay. Go back to your thought. It's okay. He's just giving you an example of your friends
Yeah,
showing
yeah.
you the red
No,
flag.
literally, that is him. Like, that is him. He is my pero nena. Like, the only thing that he needs to do is like smack me across the face. Like, did you realize it?
He's like all
But
those
even
memes when
yeah,
you're
yeah,
about to
yeah.
say
He's
something and Batman is like, cállate.
it's not coquito season. Anyway, um, so but yeah, and you just forget. You be like, you start looking, you get a checklist. That's what we end up doing. We get a checklist, and we have, okay, he has a job, okay, he has his house, okay, he has a car, okay, he has this, he has money, he has everything that I need, that I don't have to fork out, because we go again on the want versus need. And what I mean by that, real quickly, because we're like 3 minutes, then we're done, is
No
a
rush.
person would rather be needed than wanted. And in my case, I don't need you, because I can get my own. I can provide myself with everything. But there's certain things that I cannot buy. I cannot buy affection. I cannot buy, that love, that companionship, that
Mhm.
person to lend me their ear when I'm frustrated and I can't like think, and I'm flustered. I can't buy those things at a store. So the fact that I want to be with you should be enough for you to say, okay, this is a good deal. But the unfortunate part about it is, there are still men and women out there that need to be needed versus wanted.
And that's
My
why a
myself,
lot of people stay
yeah,
because they're
yeah. I mean,
looking
myself,
for that.
they're so desperate, and I hate using the word desperate, but they're like in this search of, I want the perfect love. You make the perfect love. No, it's not in a book. It's not in a recipe. You don't bake it for 300 and for 35 minutes at 350 degrees. No, it doesn't work that way. You make your own magic, and you make yourself and your surroundings the way you want to. And if that person is willing to, let them help you grow, I mean, vice versa, then that it is. And communication, again, communication is key. I sometimes forget to communicate, and everyone knows that. But it's a little process, because I'm okay with my feelings. Like, I can hold everything in, but if I magic so that you can stop being upset, and that's okay. I don't. My feelings are okay. I'll figure my feelings out. It's you. You're the main cause, and sometimes I have to put myself first and have to say, okay, you know what? My feelings are hurt, and if you can't realize that, then we don't have anything to do here. So,
That's the biggest lesson there. So people are watching and they're like, "Oh my God, they talk about 1,000 different things today." Well, yes, we did, because we always have just one topic, and there's so many different things we can talk about when it comes to domestic violence. And I thought that it would be super fun to ask a bunch of different people, "What do you want to hear?" And the way we normally do this is we have a watcher's choice, pretty much an audience choice, and they decide and they come on screen. But I decided to do it a little bit differently this month, and I went out and I just started asking random people, "Hey, what do you want to hear about? Hey, what do you want to talk about?" And that's how we ended up with the different topics for tonight. Um, We're gonna go. I'm gonna read that last comment, which is from Hilda Lisa Escalante, and then I have a video for you guys. Someone to complete you. It's what society has taught us. No one can do that for you. You must be comfortable with being alone. Absolutely. And I've had this conversation with people a lot of times when I've told them, and I've had this conversation with myself. And it's crazy that I'm now at a place where when I was younger, I had to be with somebody. I just needed a
Mhm.
boyfriend. I needed someone. And it's crazy that the place that I am in my life, I'm like, if I find someone to love me for the rest of my life, hallelujah. But if I
I
don't,
know,
I'm
right?
okay being by myself.
Yeah.
So we've had a good night. I found a great video. It is from a woman who is a survivor, and she speaks a little bit about what she went through during her abuse, and she is reminding folks not to stay. If it gets bad, don't stay. Ray, my movie one is what we're about to watch, so we can close out the show.
I'm a survivor. I don't think I've said that out loud. It was late 2014, early 2015 that I met my former partner. We were introduced by family members from either side. It started off very on the surface, like very much a love story. We had a lot of fun, so many similarities. He didn't live here. He actually lived in the States. So it was a lot of like back and forth visiting, which was great too. In the beginning, it was psychological and emotional. So I would say things like we'd get into a huge argument and then I'd just be like, it's too much for me. I don't want to be in the relationship anymore. And he would literally call my phone like 100 times in a row. 100. To dial somebody's number 100 times in a row is ridiculous. Over and over and over and over and over again. And I'd start to feel like, oh my God, like I'm such a monster, this poor guy, like he wants to work it out, this and that, whatever. So the emotional and the psychological was common, and that was like maybe like for the first 2 years. And so it didn't really feel like what I'd term as abuse. When he actually came here, moved here, that's when the physical started. And that's when I started to see like, this is crazy. I realized that it was either going to be me or him, in the sense that if I didn't leave, I wouldn't be around. It was like year 3 that when the physical started, just, shoving and stuff like that. And I definitely don't want to come across as so victimized that I never defended myself. I would shove right back, and I'm in shock, like somebody you love, putting their hands on you, like, what are you doing, right? But then very quickly it progressed into things like being choked against a wall. There was even a point where he tackled me like a football player, and he's a big guy. And I would never wish on my worst enemy the feeling of somebody's hands on your neck and looking at somebody who has proclaimed that they love you, but is literally jeopardizing your life. I never had real, sincere thoughts of truly leaving until the physical abuse began, because that's when it was my wake-up call. Yeah, it's my wake-up call. It was an entire turning point in my life. 2019 was the year that broke me, but it was also the year that blessed me with a strength that I earned.
Absolutely. I wanted to show that video because I think sometimes people watch us and, they watch us every week and they watch me on the screen being loud and goofy and silly and just my normal crazy Chrissy self. And they don't realize, what it takes for us to get to where we've come from. I am super hyper and happy every week and goofy and loud and all types of nuts when I'm on here. And that's Chrissy on a normal, when she's not sad or she's not depressed and she's not going through something. But we went through all of that. Like I went through what she went through. I went through all those feelings of realizing like, did this just happen? And when the physical abuse starts to get worse, because you don't realize it at first when it's just the speaking and just saying bad things to you. But when they start to hit you, you realize, oh my God, is this really happening? And the strength that it takes to go from right down here and to be like right up here. Like this is the bottom of the abuse, and this is like, oh my God, the worst of the abuse. And what it's like to finally get away from that. And she said, I had to decide it was him or me. And I say this all the time because Jessica, another guest, had said previously that they couldn't help me at that time because I had to draw the line in the sand. I
Mm-hmm.
had to say this was it. And that's exactly it. I had to make the choice to say it's either him or me, because if it's not this decision made, he just hit me in front of my kid, that's his kid. What will he do next? Like, is he
Correct.
going to take my life? Like, where is this going to go?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make that decision to say, that's it. Like, that's it.
Like I
And that
know.
was the line. Listen, she's watching. She showed up there, license to carry. She's not crazy, but she showed up there ready to shoot this man to make sure that he was not going to hurt me. And we're not okay with violence. But exactly that. No one can help you until you're ready to accept it.
That's
And the
correct.
fact that we have been able to walk away from it and we are here today speaks volumes for who the heck we are now as people. So listen, I call myself a victor because I am victorious away from all of that craziness.
Amen.
I call myself a survivor, a shero. I call myself everything but a victim because that is exactly who they want us to be. So I
Correct.
just wanted that video shown for somebody who may be watching. And you know what? I didn't go back to my cousin's comment. I can't. I have to. Before we finish, I got to go back to that comment because he's going to kill me. I just realized that I didn't go to it. He is a man and he had something to say. He said, okay, cuz I want to ask this. Men have been labeled as dogs and did crap. I did my shit. But I am an amazing father. And not because I want to toot my own horn. But how does a woman accept a man that had a past? Boo, y'all. That is super, super difficult question. But I will say this, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody is going to have,
Mm-hmm.
the best track record behind them. Not all men are going to listen. I have someone now that tells me, I'm glad you know me, you know the good part of me now, because back then I was a hot mess. You have to be willing to know that people go through cycles, levels of maturity, different parts of your life where different things happen and they occur. Um, I can't speak for any other woman. I always speak for myself. So for myself, how do I accept a man that's had a past? By walking and talking and dealing with you together, and us just doing it day by day, because you
Mm-hmm.
know what, if I sit here and take every man that's had a past and I say I can't deal with you because you've had a past, I'm probably never going to find love, because guess what, no
That
one's
is
perfect
true.
and everyone has a past.
Well,
It
you have to
depends on
understand.
what your past looks like and
Correct.
if you have grown from that past. If you were an abuser, and you're saying, if I don't know what reference you're referencing to, because I don't know those parts about you, cuz, and I'm a hope that's not who you were. But there's a difference in having a shady past because you cheated on your ex-wife or you did this or that to your wife, whatever, and a difference from being an abuser and somebody who's beat up on their wife and dragged them outside by their hair. There's a difference in that. But if I sit here and judge everybody by their past, damn, I'm going to be alone, because guess what? My past isn't that clean either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody has done things that they're not proud of in their past. So I think that you can date a man who's had a past and you can date a woman who's had a past. I think it's just a level of maturity and growth and what you're willing to accept and what you're willing to work on together. You might have had a past, but you and I might meet and we might be amazing. And what you did in your past may never happen again. I can't
Yeah.
judge you from that.
Good.
Everybody's maturity levels are different. I don't want to keep talking and running over everyone's time. So what I'm going to do is what we normally do at the 50-minute mark, but we're way over that. I'm going to give you your moment, Margie, to talk about anything that we've discussed tonight or anything that you want, but I'm going to give you your time by yourself. I'm going to go to the back so you can give us your final thoughts tonight.
Thank you. Well, this has been an amazing experience for me. Let's just point that out. I've never been in a show like this before, and so to be here, to be part of this is amazing. Thank you, Christina, for giving me this opportunity. Domestic violence is real, and it is real, and it's closer than you think. Um, we just have to be vigilant. We have to be open minded. We have to communication um, for all of those topics that we spoke about today. Just think about the little people, and by little people, I mean your children. Um, think of the damage that you might be causing to that child by speaking ill will of the other parent. because you're putting your feelings first and foremost. In regards to the other topic about financial stability, there are organizations now that can help with that, like Christina's and others that are able to help, and that's amazing. We've come up in the world now that we are not alone, whether it's financial or emotionally, we are not alone. And I mean, we as in a male or a female, no one is alone now. And lastly, for that comment, for that gentleman who stated about how to deal with someone with a past, everyone deserves a second chance. And everyone has the capability of changing. Whether or not they want to change or they don't want to change, that's a different story. But everyone has the capability of changing. And it is true. You and that person who had a past, we don't know. We don't know what that past entails because there's two sides to every story. So just because the person was an abuser with their significant other, their ex significant other, doesn't really mean they're going to be abusive to you. Although you do have to have that that vigilance of just making sure that you take and look at those red flags and see if that pattern is going to continue or not. But the take that I got on into this whole experience is domestic violence. Again, it's real. It's clearer than ever, and it has lots of roots and a lot of branches. So don't be mistaken by just the physical aspect of domestic abuse. There is more to it than just that. So, and with that, I say thank you again, Christina, and for allowing me to be here. I hope that, I was somewhat helpful.
You was all right. No, I'm
I
joking.
know, I was agreeing,
You did great. You did good, kid.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I appreciate you for sharing your evening with us. We took you over an hour, so I'm sorry if I cut into your nighttime beauty stuff.
Oh no, it's just me and daiquiris and Milo. I mean, he might be a little upset, but he'll get over
You're so sweet. All right,
it.
I'm gonna send you to the back, and I will be back to get you so we can say goodbye. Mi gente bello. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I love this. While I was gone those 3 weeks, I have to be totally honest. I was in a super dark place. I was miserable. I was depressed. I bought a brand new car. I don't have that car. I bought it in August, and it's almost 3 months now that I am without that car. And I was just in a really angry place because of it. I had a lot of things going on. I didn't feel well every day. I just, every excuse in the book to just be miserable. But coming back last week absolutely helped me because you guys constantly are flooding my inbox, constantly are text messaging me and telling me how amazing the show is and how when we have the show, we fill your cup. But you have no idea how just your presence on this screen with me every week and commenting and sending love does it for me as well. When I have bad moments, you guys are there to uplift me and bring me back. And I will tell you, coming back last week did so much for me. It made me remember why I do what I do. And it made me remember what I'm constantly telling all of you, which is find one good thing. I have this one terrible thing that has happened to me that has allowed me to be down in the dumps. But I have to remind myself if that one good thing isn't only just my daughter, I have you guys too, who actually uplift me and make me feel so amazing every week. So a big thank you to everybody that's always here, constantly supporting Jessica, Evelyn, Carmen, my girl who's always here. Everyone who gets on and watches. My cousin was here tonight. That's the first time I've seen him. So I'm super, super just grateful for the people who constantly give us love. Our closing thoughts are always different. They're about either what we've spoken about, something that we feel. So my closing thought tonight is just appreciation for all of the support that I constantly receive from every single one of you guys, whether it's with the show, whether it's sharing a post, whether it's liking or commenting on our show or anything that we post, whether it's referring clients to us, whether it's donating gifts during Christmas time, coming out to our 5K, attending our gala, whatever it is, big or small, that you do, know that it does not go unnoticed. And on my hardest days, I am so super grateful for all of you. You know what's funny? I have a sidebar. Transparent moment has absolutely nothing to do with the topic. I just looked at myself and I'm like this. I am so Hispanic, man. All we do is talk with our hands. I want to like hold my hands to the chair one day and see how bad it'll get me if I'm like this because I can't lift my hands. Sidebar, totally not anything to do with it, but this is Chrissy and I'm crazy. Thank you guys for being here, for being a part of us. Next week, we're going to continue with some of the good topics that were given to me. We'll go back to our regular one topic discussion next week with our amazing guest. I hope that you joined us tonight and you enjoyed our several topics. We'll go back to normal next week. It'll be an amazing time. Things to look forward to for 2022. We have continued to push forward with the activities that we've done, and we are now going to add some activities to that. Not only are we going to have our 5K that's coming up pretty quickly in our spring cycle. So look out for that flyer. Those of you who have already paid, don't worry, your money's in there. But we're going to start putting it back up on the website and make sure that tickets are purchased because we will be having our next 5K at the end of April or the beginning of May. The infinite answer to that question, when is the date and where is it, will be announced next week so that you know where you're going, how much it's going to be, and what date it will be on as well. So look forward to that. We're going to have a great time. We're also beginning dun, 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 planning for what we said last year was just a thought, but we're going to make it happen this year. We are having a Mommy and Me conference where we will be giving you speakers and amazing people who are going to forge positivity in our young women and our ladies so that they can see nothing but positivity. It'll be an entire day of mothers and daughters and even young sons to come out and just hear positive things, go through different workshops and learn from some amazing people. So that is something to look forward to. We began by doing our photo shoot to start off our second documentary, and people are like, what is going on with that? We are now taking stories of anybody who is interested in being part of our second documentary, where this time around, myself, Zuma, Jackie, and a lot of other amazing people will interview new people who are now sheroes who have dealt with domestic violence and now are sobrevivientes. They have survived it and they are telling us their stories. So that's just a few things that we're looking forward to. If you or anyone that you know is interested in being a part of our organization, being a part of the things that we do, hit up my inbox. Send me some type of information on you and join us so that you can continue to help us to push forward with our mission that is and always will be in honor of the amazing Linda Rios. My last announcement and things that we continue to say and reminder, I've put up the picture. If you have a loved one who was lost to domestic violence and you want us to shed some positivity on them, during our 5K, we will be putting up huge banners with faces so people can remember them with love. Send me your photos, send me your stories. Tell us why you love this person. Tell us everything amazing about them because we're going to celebrate them at our 5K this year. I have already received 10 photos of different people who were lost because of domestic violence. So if you have a loved one that you would like for us to remember at our 5K, please do so. And remember that those faces will last because when we put them up at one thing, we will continue to show those faces at every event from that point on. Thank you guys for giving us your time and your attention tonight. We went over an hour, but I appreciate everyone who has stayed on and has been here with us. Let's bring Margie back so we can say goodnight. Mi amor, gracias otra vez for being here with us and partaking in this evening. I hope you had fun, even though you were terrified.
I know I did. I have to admit, I had fun. I had fun. Those comments, seeing, people that I love and hold dear, just commenting away. It was just showing that love that I truly appreciate. Muchas gracias, mi gente. As always, thank you, thank you, thank you. Christina, thank you so much. Ray, thank you too. Just hay que decirlo porque si no se enfoca.
I knew it. I knew he was going to throw her off the screen. Be nice. He's going to keep throwing you off the screen. Before he throws her back off the screen, folks, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you so much for being here with us. See us again next week on Tuesday.
Bye. Thank
Have a good
you
night,
so
everybody.
much. Bye.